TikTok, Instagram, or even Facebook promote a product, a lifestyle, or a beauty routine. A lot of these people that you see promoting these things have hundreds, thousands, or even millions of followers. They have these followers because people trust them and their opinions and advice blindly. These people with the followers are widely known as influencers. Influencers are a part of influencer culture. Influencer culture is made up of all different types of audiences, trends, consumer behavior, and opinions. I wanted to know more about this topic, so I did some research. Majority of the research that I collected is from Google Scholar. This research tells me a lot about consumer behavior, cancel culture, and the marketing a part of influencer culture. Influencer culture can create impactful changes on how children, teens, and even some adults think about themselves. But it will probably leave a longer impact on children and teens. Sometimes you might hear people say children and young teens shouldn't be on social media because of this exact reason, but sometimes it's just inevitable. Today I'm going to persuade you that influencer culture does more harm than good. The first thing that I'll talk about is how influencer culture promotes consumer behavior. The second thing that I'll talk about is cancel culture and sharing. The last thing that I'll talk about is marketing and influencer culture. Now that we know the gist of the speech, let's get started on the first point. As I said before, cancel culture constantly impacts consumer behavior in children and teens. Most influencers will sell/promote lifestyles, advice, and opinions that mostly affects kids and teens, and they would trust them and follow them blindly. Influencers can present themselves as being relatable and genuine because they want to seem perfect in a way. This mostly affects teens because they trust said influencer even though the influencer is lying to market and make profit off the audience, likes, and views. According to the research that I got from University of Portsmouth, influencer culture can set unrealistic beauty standards by presenting filtered and curated images. This can mostly affect children because they tend to look up to the people they find the most beautiful or handsome. Over time, they tend to compare themselves to influencers that are way older than them, and then they will start to develop body dissatisfaction, low self-esteem, and harmful beauty practices. Another thing that can affect both children, teens, and maybe even some adults is this dissemination of misinformation. Many influencers tend to always spread misinformation about things like health issues, politics, and social issues to market and gain off profit. This is dangerous for anyone of any age willing to listen and run with information that is not credible. Now you can see how this is connected to consumer behavior. Now we're going to discuss cancel culture and influencer culture with sharing. Sharing is when parents take pictures and videos of their kids at least every day to gain followers and make profit. People tend to shy away from this type of content because they feel like the kids' digital identity slowly gets stripped away from them as they get older. According to the research that I collected from Sharing and Oversharing by Alexandria Ruiz Gomez, parents use their platform to share their children purposely to get monetized faster. You can tell that the parents know with their kid better opportunities come faster also. For example, family-centered commercials. But as time goes on and kids get older, this process always becomes more exhausting and boring and overwhelming. This can lead to the cancel culture part and influencer culture because when the audience doesn't agree with the parent's choice, they will judge you. And once the negative comments start flooding in, then comes along controversy and public degradation comes right behind it. But what people don't realize is This can affect the children more mentally, emotionally, and physically. Now you can see how cancel culture can definitely take place in influencer culture. Now for marketing. Marketing will always be embedded in influencer culture. Brands love to use influencers to advertise their products. Brands like to collaborate with influencers to promote their product in a way that makes it seem fake. What I mean by that is to like they basically hype up the product even if there are some flaws in the product. According to some research that I collected from How Can Influencer Marketing Be Harmful to Brands by Loy and Jean, brands have sent a ton of money to the influencer marketing world in 2022. Brands like to invest in this kind of thing because they like to raise the consumer rate. But what they don't know is influencers' opinions matter, and to certain audiences, especially if they keep the advertisement authentic and truthful. Now you can see how marketing works in influencer culture. After all of that, I hope you can now understand how influencer culture does more harm than good. The first thing that we learned is how consumer behavior strongly impacts young and sometimes older audiences. The second thing that we learned is how parenting is basically how parents exploit their kids for money and opportunities. The last thing that we learned is how brands would rather have an influencer lie when promoting their product to make more money, even though consumers like the truth. Overall, culture is debatably one of the worst